know we need local aid to fund our schools and to fund all the important things that we have going for us in Marshfield and Scituate, because we have to. But we also need to watch every dollar that's spent in this state right now, and I think ultimately I'll be the best one to do that, because if folks know, one of the things about me, I am not afraid to speak my mind and stand up when I have to, and I think you've heard me in the past, and that's one thing I can guarantee folks that I will do. If I'm elected, I will always speak my mind on what I think is important to our communities, and whether that's in Marshfield and Scituate, I will do it because I think it's important.
That would be following in the footsteps of Frank, because
Absolutely.
I think he did that. Frank
Absolutely, and it's important that we have to do that, because in Marshfield, I'll speak for what I really know, there's been some times where we've needed it. We've needed to kind of actually stand up and be counted, and I have. So that's one of the things, like I said, ultimately I can say what I've done, and I can be proud of it. I mean, there's been times when people have wondered what I was doing, but all my things that I've stood up and stood up for this town have come, and I think it's going to put me in a good light, ultimately.
Well, let's talk about a few of those things. I mean, usually this is a little backwards for me, because I started out when you were a little one and then work our way to today.
Right. Well, like I said, I grew up in Marlborough, Massachusetts. I have 9 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
In a very political family. My dad was a staunch, one of the only Republicans at the time.
My dad was, too.
He was an amazing man, but there wasn't many Republicans like my father.
Yeah.
And my mother was very Democratic. So we come from a mixed family and politically. And but I've always been, ever since I was able to vote, I'll say this to folks, I've always been independent, because some people have asked me, well, why don't you run as a Republican or a Democrat? I'm like, well, because I've always been an independent. So it's hard to explain that to somebody, because most people assume someone in their 40s or whatever would have been in a party at one point in their life.
Yeah.
And I haven't been. So my history is I've always been an independent. Like I said, I can't really give you the real reason why, but it was ever since I was able to vote when I was 18. I registered as an independent, and I was proud to do it.
Because I think what you can do as an independent is take some of the good things from the Democrats and the good things as a Republican without having to be kind of sucked in to either party.
Well, that's what I've always been, and I've always been fighting for that. When I was a city councilor in my hometown, when I was doing that, I was actually toying with the idea of trying to put an organization together to actually help independents, and that's still in the back of my mind. It still needs to be done. There needs to be an independent party, association, something. Some states have them, and some states have pretty strong independent organizations. We have a lot of people that are independent in this state, but we have no organization. And that's one of the difficult things about running as an independent. There's no organization. And I always say to people, look, there needs to be in the future, just whether it's just doesn't have to be as big as the Democratic Party or as organized, but there needs to be some way that an independent person, if they want to run for office, the 55% of us in the state, there needs to be a way for them to go somewhere to get some help. And hopefully, ultimately, I think maybe we can do that. And so that's sort of my history about being an independent. And what like I was telling you before, I came down to Marshfield, with my wife probably 14 years ago. She grew up in Norwell, and that's what brought me down here, and that's what made me settle in Marshfield. We kept coming down here to the South Shore, and we fell in love with it. We looked at probably 100 houses when we first came down, and we're fortunate enough to be here. And I have 2 lovely children, Nicholas and Olivia. Hi guys, and they're my life. And actually, I got to go to a t-ball game after this. Post the t-ball game, then I got to go to.
Well, I've got a picture here, but I don't know.
Yeah, it might come up.
But you have a folder. Yeah, there they are.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have a folder which is available to explain all sorts of things to people.
Absolutely.
How can they get this?
Well, they can. We have actually a headquarters, Arnie. We have a headquarters on 1937 Ocean Street, next to Famous Pizza. I'm not sure what anybody else is doing, but my headquarters will be basically, I think, ultimately a symbol of what I'm doing as far as grassroots and how the campaign is going to be. It's not staffed full time yet, but it will be. By the time this campaign's really flowing and really going, we'll have someone down there almost every day.
Is that the old computer place?
It is. It is. It's like I said, it's next to the rug company, and it's next to most people know Famous Pizza, so it's on that strip right there, and it's actually amazing just to open that office. I'll tell you, it was kind of a mess. And you go in there now, it's inviting. It's a campaign office. I'm not going to lie to people though. It is what it is. It's a grassroots campaign office. But yes, they can get information there. We will be having coffee hours. My hours will be there. I will be there probably throughout the week, starting in a couple weeks. But what I'm doing on Saturday mornings, I think starting this week, we're going to put an A-frame out. We're going to have like a coffee hour with me, and it's going to be from I think it's 9 to 11 o'clock every Saturday morning, where people can come in and have coffee, free coffee, donut, and talk about, and come meet and talk about some of the issues that are important to us. Because that's how ultimately I think I'm going to do this thing, is I'm going to get to meet as many people as I can. I'm going to go everywhere I can. I'm going to go door to door. I'm going to meet everybody that I can that's possible. And that's how I think I'm going to win this thing, ultimately. So I am open. I am open to suggestions, comments. If anybody wants to give me a call, come by the office, by all means do it. It's
phone number?
It's 781.
Can you remember it?
Yeah, I know. 781-834-2300. And in the email, the website is votevalianti.com. It's the website's up. It's not finished, but like I said, my campaign's grassroots, so it's always going to be involved. It's going to evolve into more, and we are going to have a big fundraiser coming up. Right now, it's tentative, but I'm 99% sure it's going to be at the Winslow House on June 21st. It's going to be basically celebrate the summer fun. It's going to be a fundraiser. My kids say all my events have to be fundraisers.
Yes.
So it's going to be basically to celebrate the summer, but also kind of my first big event. And obviously I'm going to have a little speech for everybody, and it's going to be fun, though. It's going to be kids' events. It's going to be, we'll have a band. So it'll really be a nice way to celebrate the first day of summer.
This is the way it should be, because any of the politics I've been involved in has always been fun. When it gets to be the other way around, it becomes a chore, and you're not having a good time.
Right. But it's in its nature, though. It sometimes does get difficult, I'll tell you, because money is a big issue in what I'm doing. And one of the reasons why when some of the Republican folks were calling me, I had to listen, because, look, there's money involved with the parties. They have money to give to candidates, a lot more than what you can get from an individual. So I had to listen to that, but I respectfully said, look, I've always been an independent, so I just couldn't do that, and I have to stay an independent. But I will be going to the Republican Party and asking for their endorsement, because why not? There's no Republican running, and I'm as close as they're going to find, because but that I think is a good thing. But running as an independent, it is harder. Like I said, the numbers, we could go over the numbers again and again and again, but that definitely doesn't always mean anything, because in the Democratic Party, they can give candidates money. And so that's sometimes it's a little easier that way. And the money thing is an issue for me right now. And if anybody wants to donate anything to me, because I have to say it, because even $5, $10, anything is going to be actually helpful. It really is a difficult thing to go out and actually ask people for money.
It is.
Because look, if someone gives up their time or their money, especially these days, to help an individual run for an office, man, that's just, you should be. That's the most amazing thing, that someone's going to commit to you and give you money or their time. And if they do, that's going to be, I appreciate that more than anything.
Well, I'm sure you'll do well.
Yeah, well, it's going to be, it's an adventure, I'll say, and a challenge, Arnie, because there are some good people in this race, as you know, but ultimately it's going to people have their ideas how it's going to all fold, but we'll see. I think a lot of people will be very surprised on how I run this race, because one thing I can tell you, there's no way I'm going to be outworked. I might be outspent, but I'm not going to be outworked. So, and that's just who I am. And like I said, we'll see in the end, because in the end, like I said, the numbers might bode well for me, because in this presidential primary, we're going to get a lot of people coming out that people there's no way, even if we do all the figuring out that we want, we have all the people, bring all the people in, spend all the money we want, in the end, if there's 80% of the people coming out to vote in the presidential, in the final in November, that's going to be, you're not going to be able to tell who's going to come out here.
You do have an advantage, though, because you have 4 candidates in the Democrats running, and they're going to be spending money against each other until September 16th.
Right.
And then they're going to have to get together to fight you.
Right. Well, that's the thing, and who knows? I'm not sure how that's all going to play out. Right. And obviously, to me, I hope it is a battle, and I hope they do talk about the issues that they have to talk about, because that has to be done. Because ultimately, we will be talking about some of these things. I mean, yes, we are fortunate to live where we live, and it's a beautiful community, and so is in Scituate. But there are a lot of challenges that we all face. But one of the things I want to, you mentioned some of the groups, and you asked me to, say some of those things.
Some of the things that you have done. There's quite a list.
I know. And like one of the big things when I first came into town, Annie, I'll tell you about